I am Maribel Vance, and for 15 years, my world had shrunk to the four walls of a tidy room in the Meadowbrook retirement home. At 78, my hands, twisted by arthritis, spent more time sitting in my lap than doing. My only daughter, Cassidy, had not visited me in 15 years. Not since the day I refused to sell my antique shop, my life's work, to fund her husband Jareth's latest revolutionary business idea. "You care more about your dusty junk than my future," she had screamed. Then, silence. A silence so loud it filled every holiday, every birthday, every empty chair at my table. My days were a quiet loop of bland meals, daytime television, and watching other residents greet their families. I felt hollowed out, a vessel of memories nobody wanted to share. The only piece of my past that remained was a dark, moody landscape painting I'd kept from my shop. It was an unsettling piece, bought for almost nothing at an estate sale, but it felt like a part of me. It hung on the beige wall, a window to nowhere. I was a ghost, haunting the edges of my own life, waiting for a call that never came. One Tuesday, a young woman named Kala, an art appraiser doing a free community day, stopped at my door. She was bright and polite, asking about my knickknacks. Then her eyes landed on the painting. She froze. She didn't just look at it, she stared, her breath catching. She moved closer, tracing the almost hidden signature in the corner, a name I'd never bothered to read. "Mrs. Vance," she whispered, her voice trembling, where did you get this?" I told her the story, a simple estate sale. She pulled out her phone, her fingers flying, comparing the signature to something on her screen. "This," she said, finally turning to me, her face pale with shock, "is not just a painting. I believe this is the Hidden Storm, the lost centerpiece of the Oswin Reed collection. It's been missing for 80 years. I just stared at her. The name meant nothing to me. Kala took a deep, shaky breath, her eyes wide with a terrifying reverence. "Maribel," she said, grabbing my arm, "if this is real, it's not worth thousands. It's worth millions." The next 2 weeks were a blur that spun faster than any day in the last 15 years. Kala brought in experts from a Boston museum. They took samples, they used special lights, and they spoke in hushed, excited tones. The verdict came back: it was authentic. A lost American masterpiece. The media descended on Meadowbrook like seagulls on a picnic. My face, old and wrinkled, was on the evening news. "Small-town grandma sitting on a $24 million masterpiece," the headlines screamed. My quiet room was suddenly filled with flowers, baskets, and calls from old friends I hadn't heard from in decades. The painting was moved to a secure vault, and the museum began negotiations for its purchase. I hired a sharp, no-nonsense estate lawyer named Ms. Naoma, who immediately set up a trust. "Maribel," she said, her eyes firm, "your life has changed. This kind of money doesn't just attract friends, it attracts predators. You need to be careful." I nodded, though my mind was still reeling. $24 million. It was a number so large it felt imaginary, like something from a movie. It couldn't possibly be real. I was in the middle of signing papers to move into a secure luxury apartment when the receptionist at the front desk buzzed my room. Her voice was hesitant. "Maribel? There's someone here to see you. A young woman. She says she's your daughter." My blood ran cold. The pen froze in my hand. 15 years of silence. 15 years of birthdays and holidays alone. Not a call, not a card. And now, exactly 7 days after my face was plastered on the news, she was here. I told the receptionist to send her in. My heart was a cold, hard knot in my chest. When the door opened, the performance began. "Mom!" Cassidy burst in, her eyes already brimming with fake tears. She rushed to me, pulling me into a hug that felt like a cage. She smelled of expensive perfume, a scent I didn't recognize. "Oh, Mom, we saw the news. We were so worried. We had no idea you were here. We've been trying to find you." It was the worst acting I had ever seen, and I'd owned an antique shop for 40 years. I know a fake when I see one. Her husband, Jareth, lingered by the door, his eyes scanning my small room, no doubt looking for the painting. "It's terrible, Maribel," he said, shaking his head. "To think of you in this place." I pulled back from Cassidy, my hands steady. "You knew exactly where I was, Cassidy. You're the one who signed the papers to have my mail forwarded." The tears in her eyes vanished, replaced by a flash of annoyance before she recovered. We were just so busy. The kids, Jareth's work, it all got away from us. Then came the real reason for their visit. "You're coming to live with us," Cassidy announced, grabbing my hand. "We're going to buy a big, beautiful house, with a room just for you. We have to protect you, Mom. From all these people trying to take advantage of you." Jareth nodded eagerly. "Exactly. Family has to stick together. We'll help you manage, well, everything." The offer hung in the air, sickeningly sweet. They didn't want me, they wanted the $24 million. And they thought I was just a lonely old fool who would be so grateful for their attention that I'd hand it all over. I looked at the two of them, their faces masked with false concern. I saw the greed in Jareth's eyes and the desperate calculation in my daughter's. The old Maribel, the one who wept into her pillow for years, would have caved. But the Maribel who had just been validated, whose dusty junk was now the talk of the art world, felt a cold, hard anger settle in her bones. I had been an antique dealer. I knew how to negotiate. I knew the value of things. And I knew these two were fakes. I turned to Ms. Naoma, who had been watching silently from the corner. She gave me the slightest, almost imperceptible nod. The trap was set. "Live with you?" I whispered, letting a tremble enter my voice. "Oh, Cassidy, after all this time." I don't know." Cassidy's eyes lit up. "She had her hook in me." "Of course, Mom. It's the least we can do." I dabbed at my dry eyes. "It's just, this money. It's so much. Ms. Naoma is wonderful, but she's not family." Jareth stepped forward. "That's what we're saying, Maribel. I can handle this. I know investments. I'll think about it," I said. "But I need to know you've changed. That your hearts are in the right place." I looked at them, the picture of a frail, confused old woman. "I'm setting up a small charitable fund. Just a local thing. I want you. I want both of you to help me run it. Just some simple volunteering. To show me you care about the community, about helping others, the way I do." Cassidy practically lunged at the offer. "Of course, Mom. Anything. We'd love to." They thought it was a small price to pay for a $24 million prize. They had no idea what I was really buying, evidence. I didn't move in with them. I moved into a beautiful, secure penthouse apartment with a doorman. I told Cassidy and Jareth it was temporary while we all looked for the perfect house together. They agreed, though I could see Jareth was annoyed he didn't have immediate access to me. The charitable work began the following Saturday. Our first stop was not a glamorous gala, but the Willows, a soup kitchen in the poorest part of town, a place I had quietly donated to for 30 years. The director, Lowell, a stern man with kind eyes, knew me well. He greeted me with a warm hug and looked at Cassidy and Jareth with polite suspicion. The smell of simmering stew and disinfectant hung heavy in the air. Jareth's nose wrinkled. Cassidy, dressed in a white designer jacket, looked horrified. "You want us to serve?" she whispered, as if I'd asked her to handle snakes. I smiled sweetly. "Of course, dear. It's for the fund." She reluctantly put on an apron, her face a mask of pure disgust. I, meanwhile, had my new smartphone. I watched as Jareth was asked to carry a heavy box of potatoes. He complained about his back and tried to pawn it off on another volunteer. I took a picture. I watched as Cassidy served a plate of food, holding it at arm's length so the man wouldn't accidentally brush her sleeve. I took a picture. At one point, Jareth cornered Lowell. "You know, we'll be funding a major renovation here soon," he said, loud enough for me to hear. "My mother-in-law's estate. We're going to be changing a lot of things around here." Lowell just nodded, his eyes meeting mine over Jareth's shoulder. He knew exactly what was happening. The next event was an adoption drive for a local animal shelter. It was a loud, chaotic, wonderful event in a local park. I told Cassidy and Jareth to mingle and see where the fund's money could do the most good. They plastered on their fake smiles and walked off toward a row of kennels. I gave them a 2-minute head start. I told Ms. Naoma I needed to use the restroom, but instead, I circled around the back of the main tent. I could see them standing near the chain-link fence, well away from the barking dogs and smiling families. They thought they were alone. I slipped my phone from my purse, turned on the voice recorder, and held it steady. "I can't stand this," Jareth's voice was a low, angry hiss. "My suit is covered in dog hair, and I've been pretending to care about stray cats for an hour. How much longer do we have to do this, Cass?" Cassidy's reply was sharp. "Just keep smiling, Jareth. It's just a few more weeks. The old woman is eating it up. She's so desperate for a family, she'd believe anything we tell her." My hand trembled, but I didn't move. "Once I am the executor of that will," Cassidy continued, her voice cold as ice, "Ms. Naoma is the first to go. That lawyer is watching us too closely. Then we take over her finances. We'll move her into the new house, get her a private nurse, and she won't have to worry about a thing." A private nurse. A polite term for a jailer. They weren't just planning to steal from me. They were planning to bury me. I saved the recording, my heart a block of ice. Jareth was getting impatient. The volunteering wasn't getting him a paycheck fast enough. He came to my new apartment alone, looking agitated. "Maribel, we need to talk," he said, skipping the pleasantries. He was holding an iPad. "I have a new business proposal. It's revolutionary. A new app. It's a guaranteed success, but the investors need seed funding. $2 million. He said it so casually, as if asking for a cup of sugar. I felt a cold wave of déjà vu. This was the same speech he'd given 15 years ago. I kept my voice frail. "Oh, Jareth, $2 million? That's so much. Ms. Naoma has everything locked down in the trust. I don't think I can get to it that fast." Jareth's mask didn't just slip, it shattered. "What do you mean, you can't get to it?" he snapped, his voice rising. "It's your money. Are you going to let that dusty old lawyer control you, just like you let that dusty old shop control you? You ruined Cassidy's future once, Maribel. You are not doing it again." He was yelling now, his face red. He was the same bully he'd always been. "Jareth, please," I said, faking a quiver. Just then, Cassidy burst in. She must have been waiting in the hall. "Jareth! What are you doing? This isn't part of the plan," she shrieked at him. He whirled on her. "The plan is too slow, Cass. I need that money now." I just sat there, watching them fight, my phone on my lap, recording every single word of their ugly, greedy argument. They had forgotten I was even in the room. Their plan had failed, so they moved to their final, desperate option. 2 days later, a courier delivered a thick envelope to my apartment. It was from a law firm I didn't recognize. Ms. Naoma was with me, and I opened it. Inside was a stack of legal documents. My eyes scanned the front page, petition for emergency conservatorship. They were trying to have me legally declared incompetent. They were petitioning the court to give them full control of my estate, my medical decisions, and my life. The petition was filled with lies. It claimed my donation to the soup kitchen was erratic spending. It claimed my move to the penthouse was proof of a vulnerable senior being financially exploited, by Ms. Naoma, of course. It even included a statement from Cassidy, crying about my failing memory and severe confusion. I had been a mother. I had raised this girl. And she was standing in a court of law, trying to strip me of my very identity, all for money. The betrayal was so profound, it stole my breath. I looked at Ms. Naoma, my hands shaking with rage, not fear. They think I'm a confused old woman, I whispered. They think I'm weak. Ms. Naoma closed the file, a grim, satisfied smile on her face. They've just made a fatal mistake, Maribel, she said. They thought they were dragging you into a fight. But they've just handed us the perfect stage for a public execution. They've given us a courtroom. The courtroom was cold and quiet. Cassidy and Jareth sat at the plaintiff's table, dressed in somber colors, trying to look like concerned children. Their lawyer stood up and painted a picture of me as a frail, confused victim, frittering away my fortune, being manipulated by Ms. Naoma. Then, Cassidy took the stand. She cried, just as she had in my nursing home room. My mother isn't herself, she wept. She's vulnerable. We're just so worried about her. We only want to protect her. Then, it was our turn. Ms. Naoma called me to the stand. I walked slowly, but I stood tall. I answered every question with perfect clarity. I detailed my antique business, my finances, and the history of the painting. Then Ms. Naoma turned to the judge. Your Honor, the petitioners claim they are here to protect Maribel. We have evidence that proves their true intentions. First, she played the audio from the animal shelter. Cassidy's voice, cold and clear, filled the room. Once I am the executor. Ms. Naoma is the first to go. We'll move her into the new house, get her a private nurse. Cassidy's face went white. Jareth looked like he was going to be sick. Next, Ms. Naoma played the recording from my apartment. Jareth's voice, screaming, "Are you going to let that dusty old lawyer control you, just like you let that dusty old shop control you?" And Cassidy's voice, "This isn't part of the plan." The judge's face was thunderous. He looked at Cassidy and Jareth with utter contempt. The judge slammed his gavel down so hard it echoed. Petition for conservatorship denied. With prejudice, he boomed. He called their lawsuit a predatory and frankly disgusting attempt to defraud an elderly parent. He didn't just dismiss the case, he sanctioned Cassidy and Jareth, ordering them to pay my legal fees. They sat there, stunned, humiliated, as the entire courtroom stared at them. They had come for $24 million. They left with nothing but public shame and a massive legal bill. I walked out of that courtroom feeling lighter than I had in 15 years. My life is different now. I didn't stay in the penthouse. I bought a comfortable home, and I established the Oswin Reed Foundation to support local art and community projects. The foundation's first act was a massive, 7-figure donation to the Willow's Soup Kitchen. I stood with Lowell as we unveiled the new Maribel Vance Wing, a bright, clean dining hall that would feed people for decades. Kala, the young appraiser who started it all, is now on my foundation's board. Ms. Naoma is my lawyer and my friend. I never heard from Cassidy or Jareth again. I read in the paper that they lost their house to foreclosure. They got exactly what they deserved. I spent so many years mourning a daughter I had lost, but the truth is, the daughter I loved was long gone. The woman who showed up at my door was a stranger. Now, my family is Kala, and Lowell, and the people I help. I'm no longer a lonely woman in a beige room. I am Maribel Vance. And my dusty junk didn't just buy my freedom, it built a legacy. What an ending! Maribel got her revenge and found a new purpose. If you loved this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more.